Good. I'd like to call to order the Golf Committee meeting of Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30, Section 20, I need to ask if anyone is publicly taping this meeting. Seeing none. Also, I would like to inform the public that this meeting is being recorded and will air on Channel 18 after the meeting concludes. Jesse, do we have any public comments?
Negative.
Okay, we're going to do the roll call. Jeff Converse, John Cookson, Keith Hochstein present, Suzanne Connolly,
Present.
Mark Bushway,
Present.
Bill Albee,
No,
Over.
Bill Silva.
Bill Silver,
That's your name.
Jason Orby. All right, we're going to act on the minutes of the December 14th, 2022 meeting. Does anyone have any comments, questions, additions, deletions? Seeing none, could we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from December 14th.
Second. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, at this time, the next item on the agenda is the cart path project update. James?
Yeah, so PAC-on, they did not finish. The paving plant shut down a day or two before Christmas. Plus with temperatures, I mean, there was some talk from them about possibly trucking asphalt in from off Cape from one of their plants, but that just, the DPW advised it's not a good idea. Cold temperatures, bringing it in that far away, you're not going to get a good product. So they're going to have to come back in the spring to finish what they haven't completed. I did ask them to, some of our concerns, they don't have gravel and process, or what they call process down on some of the areas they excavated on 12 and 17, 18. I'd like to have them come, they said they would come back and put it down so we don't have a muddy mess out there all winter. With the weather last week, I'm guessing that's why they haven't done it yet, but they did agree to come back and at least do that before the spring. That, and we'd like to see them get some of their equipment out of here, particularly the stuff in the parking lot. They have a truck down in maintenance, and also the giant pile of asphalt they have that they haven't cleaned up yet.
Is that their vehicle on the, off the 50?
Yes, their skid steer, yes, that is theirs. Yep, they had two out there, they came and got one, but that one is still out there.
Have payments been made to this company at this point?
Yes.
One.
Yes.
One day.
Yeah. About a third. A third of the total. Yeah. 37%, and technically, I think, was the number. Yeah.
So what process is going to be used to determine the damage that they've done to this course? I mean, are you going to do it, or are you going to have an independent assessment?
What we're probably going to end up doing is, I kind of don't want them involved with repairing it at this point.
That's fine.
We're probably going to do it in-house, and there might be a change order involved where we subtract maybe some of the money they had allocated for loan, and then we can use that to repair it. The tricky part is now, though, we can't fix it yet because they have to come back and they need to get all their equipment back out there. So we have to kind of wait until they completed the paving because I don't want to fix it twice.
I'm just wondering what the cost was. What is the damage? What is the value of the damage? And
I've done some
you're
measurements.
not getting an independent assessment of what that is?
I mean, you're talking less than $10,000 with the loan. It's not an astronomical number. Maybe, I think the initial estimate me and Chris came up with was $6,000 or $7,000 with the loan. And that includes fixing, adding loam to the sides.
Plus your labor?
Well, labor, right, which is the other issue.
I mean, they're insured, right? I mean, why wouldn't you just go and get an independent estimate of what the damage is and then then tell them, okay, this is what you owe us.
In theory, when they leave, there isn't any. You know, they're supposed to leave it as they found it. But to James' point, there's no point doing anything yet. We don't want to fix it twice. But I don't think it's going to come to that. We're basically going to wait and see what happens. And again, if we can short the contract by the corresponding amount that we think it will take for us to do the damage, then it's a net zero. So we're
Well,
not
that's
worried
what I
about it.
want to know.
Right,
You know, you're
right.
going to say what we think, and
Right.
I don't know that that's the same number you would get if you had an independent appraiser.
I'm sure procurement would allow us to go back and revisit that,
Okay.
but I trust James and Chris's appraisal. Frankly, I think they would know better than anybody we bring in, honestly. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to get this to a net zero, to where we use the funds that were allocated towards the project for it, albeit instead of payment to PACCON, it would be payment to wherever we buy the loan and seed from.
Well, I mean, I'd be curious, just what
We'll let you
the end
know.
result of that
I mean,
is, because-
come May,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
come May, we'll know exactly where we stand with that. But unfortunately, it's gonna sit there looking like that for the next, 5 months, because they're gonna be right back out here a few months from now,
I just remember many years ago, I had a car come up on my lawn around the holidays, and there was damage to my lawn, and I had an appraisal done, and I was shocked at how much it would cost, what they came up with to fix this damage to my lawn. And it's nothing like what you have out here.
Right.
This is substantial damage.
You also didn't have turf professionals on salary at your disposal, like we do,
That's true.
That's,
All right, as long as you hold them to account, and it gets fixed.
that's above our heads,
Yeah.
as far as holding them to the contract. That's procurement and legal, frankly.
And they're all aware of the damage?
Oh, yeah. Our direct boss, Chris Ganella, has a turf background. He was a golf course superintendent in a
Okay.
previous life, and he knows, absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is phase one of the cart path project, is that correct? I mean, are you planning to do more repairs to the cart path?
No, no.
Oh, this is it?
Well, what are you asking? We want
I guess
them
what
to
I'm asking
finish-
is the scope of what they contracted to do.
Yes.
Is that the sum total of all the repairs to the cart paths
No.
on the course? I didn't think so.
We have no plans in place for any work further than what's already been done or is left to be done.
Okay, then I didn't understand.
No, it was not a wall-to-wall, it was a,
Fix the
I think I said-
safety issues.
yeah, I think I said in the last meeting, what we needed and what we wanted were two very different things. This was just fix the worst spots, the spots that are either unsafe or damaging to the turf.
Or carts.
Right.
Okay.
This was never meant to be a wall-to-wall. I mean, you'd be looking at, we only did 20% of the golf course.
Was that your understanding?
You know.
That-
Well,
Not ruling out future plans for more, but as it stands, this is it.
This is it, okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if, in the future, if you do more cart path work, and this is really speaking to the bidding process and, what the procurement department will do, would they take into consideration, the issues this company presented to you?
James, Chris, and I will scream it from the mountaintop.
Okay,
Yes,
I just-
and I
yeah.
think that if we were, our next cart path project will very likely be over at Old Barnstable, no
okay,
matter when that is. I'm not gonna put a year on it,
okay,
but absolutely, it'll.
all right.
well, Jesse, we're going to clarify. Suzanne was concerned about having phase one and phase two. There is no phase two, correct? The project that we had for what, 375,000
Yeah.
is
The cart
what we're going to get,
That's it.
period.
Yep.
It just so happens, because of this company's stumbling and bumbling, that they haven't completed what we were scheduled to
Right.
get by November, which James has
Right,
indicated.
the project was
is-
never meant to be segmented like this.
No.
Okay.
They ran out of time.
All right,
So we're probably never going to request any additional cart paths for Hyannis Golf Course for
Okay,
years and years
for
to
years
come.
We
and
fixed the worst spots, the spots, again, that were either unsafe, damaging to golf carts. Yeah, and that's all we set out to do. Golf course is 5 miles long,
Yeah,
and we did about a mile worth. You know, so it would have been 5 times the cost. You think about that, it would have been almost $2 million to do
I think
all.
it's safe to say, though, that your wishes were de-scoped over time. In other words, you wanted a more comprehensive project originally. Is that true or not?
Yeah, how we wanted to have it bid was basically, here's how much money we have to spend, who can give us the lowest dollar per linear foot, let's
Yeah.
say. Because I wanted to max that number out, the 446 that Keith has alluded to a lot. I wanted to max that number out.
Sure.
Our surplus is in a good place,
Yeah.
let's use it. We were told you can't do it that way. You have to go say, here's how many linear feet we want done, who can do it for the lowest price. So that put James in a spot to where he's out there measuring. He didn't want to, he was in a tough spot because he didn't want to come out with this astronomical number that was unrealistic.
Yeah.
And now the bids are coming in at 800,000. But at the same time, he didn't want to do too little. So the fact that it ended up being about 80-something% of what we were allocated shows he did a pretty good job of guessing. But I wish it was, here's what we want to spend, you know, here's our budget, who can do the most linear feet, but instead we had to do it the other way.
Okay.
So yeah, is it less than what we wanted? Yes, but it's still,
The dangerous
it
spots.
tempered it
Yeah.
took care of what we needed it to take care of. It was never meant to be a wall-to-wall, look at our brand new cart paths. It was more of a cart path repair project
Got it.
than it was a renovation or replacement.
Got it.
The parts that are done look real good.
They do.
Yeah.
But I'm still very disappointed at the damage that they did.
You know, fortunately, a lot of damage is in areas that aren't super high traffic, you know, playable, like right here in front of 10T. But it's bad, yeah, 12's bad, right on 3's
I mean,
bad.
how they damaged the front of 5T
Right.
is beyond me. I don't even know what they were doing there. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, but 3 and 5T came out great, 14 green, 15T, that came out great. We'll be happy come, you know, hopefully May when it's over and.
Jesse, was the original amount of, and again, I may not have this exactly correct, 465,000?
446.
440 some odd thousand. The amount of linear feet that we are going to get for the amount we're going to spend, is that the same as the 440 some odd thousand?
We never knew, that was never, where the 446,000 came from, I have no idea. That was an appropriation from back in 2019. Neither James or I were in the position we're in now. It was, you know, it was Bruce, obviously, and Chris. And so where the 446 came from, I don't know. But we were never, I mean, you can see anything right here.
No, and the way they bill it now, I know, is they don't even go by feet. It's how much tonnage they put down in asphalt. That's
Oh.
how it's all based. So it's all, the thickness comes into play too.
Yeah. I was thinking of it strictly as a,
Linear feet.
right. I was on Google Earth saying, all right, you know, trying to figure out how much we needed.
Because I agree with Bill, what is there is certainly looking good, and I walk on it and it feels real good. And if in fact, we got close to the same number of linear feet that the 445 would have given us, then I guess we did okay financially. The problem, of course, is their inefficiency, which hurt us a great deal.
I think every area we marked and wanted addressed will be by the end of this. Yeah, I think.
Well, again, just to echo what you've already said also, Jesse, is that path going from 12 to 13 and also from 17 to 18, and I know you're going to do this, James, but I just want to go on record. They're somewhat dangerous areas. And you know that, I know you know that, but I just want to say
17
that
and
we
18
want
is what started this whole thing.
17 and 18 started the whole thing.
Yep.
It is dirt now, but there are roots sticking out of the ground. And again, you know this. But we need to make that safe for the winter. Because it looks like a mild winter and we're getting a lot of play.
James and I were talking about it off the air, so to speak, that we'll be reaching out to them in the next day or two saying, we need these areas, prepped.
Well, there are torrential rains forecast for Friday.
Right, and that's his biggest concern is these
Yeah.
areas washing out.
Right.
And then you're left with a muddy mess, We're,
Because the areas they did get gravel down and they rolled it, they've held up.
Have they?
Behind 3 Green, 13 Green to the right, it hasn't washed out. Yeah.
All right, Bill, are you okay with this now? I know you had
Yeah, I
concerns
mean, I
at
think
the last
we're
meeting.
on record as being concerned.
Right,
I think
right.
that's and I trust them. I think they're gonna do the right thing by the course. And I just wanted to make sure that the amount that we're going to get off of this bill is a correct figure. Something that we're all happy with, If
Yeah,
we're gonna be happy at all,
certainly don't want to cut anything out of our operating budget
Yeah.
to deal with that. We're just as skinny as it gets, as it is, sorry.
Yeah.
Other members, any comments or questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next topic, which is the spring meeting.
So when I put this on the agenda, I didn't mean this meeting. Madeline Noonan and I have been talking for a while now about having some type of spring pass holder meeting. Basically, it would be in this room. I think we've narrowed in on April 28th, which is a Friday. And basically, we'd invite anyone and everyone that's interested about the golf program and just have kind of a little educational session. Basically, I'd want a bunch of people to talk. Keith maybe would speak a little about your function. Maddie would talk about how we fit into community services. James would speak about our environmentally sustainable plan. Maybe Mary could talk a little about Chelsea and tips for navigating that. Tom Rourke could maybe speak a little about the gin system. Just kind of, other couple things I have on here. We could talk about future CIP so people know, what's on the horizon. We're not kicking the can on these things. We understand it just takes a while. Some budgetary. I'd go over some budgeting things. I don't want to bore anybody, but I think it's important that a lot of our pass holders understand what we're up against in terms of budgeting. Not that I'd be standing here just making excuses all night, but I think they need to understand what it entails being an enterprise account. So basically, I wanted to ask you all, what do you think, and you don't have to, answer now if you can, but, send me an email over the next couple months. What do you think people would want to hear about? What kind of subjects?
They want to hear about the bunkers.
But yeah, and that would be, I have 5 things written down. Chelsea, gin, environmental plan, budget, and future CIP. That's future CIP.
Yeah.
And you're right.
But that's what they'll ask about.
And I don't want the whole thing to turn into a complaint fest. But I understand
But it might.
that bunkers, I understand when it comes to bunkers. Yeah.
The other one is sprinkler systems.
As far as,
Irrigation.
what about,
Yeah, members are going to want to know when that transition is going to happen.
are you talking here or because?
Well, it depends on which members.
Right,
Yeah.
see, and I think I know where you're going with this, because the watering window here is so long. The sprinklers they're on more than they should be with golfers out there. But James can speak to the pipes are small, the watering window is super long.
No argument. But
Yeah.
I know we're talking about changing a bunch of heads and all that stuff.
And that's over there.
Yeah.
So that'll be in future CIP, that'll be a big one, bunkers and irrigation. I'll put that under that kind of category.
General maintenance too, like, how well will the fairways come back from the drought damage last summer?
I thought most of them were recovered pretty well.
Yeah, I
We might have to
Yeah.
touch up a few with some overseeding, but even 12 here, which I think is the worst.
Yeah, for sure.
That seed took, I'd say,
14 was bad.
yeah, 14 was bad.
I
They
don't know
bounced
what
back.
kind of questions you're gonna get or comments.
It
but
could be-
I applaud the effort to do that. No, I think it's super.
I'll be a little scared about what
But
somebody
what the
might
heck?
blurt
They're
out.
They're gonna ask what they're gonna ask.
Right.
It's
And again,
nothing you haven't heard, I'm sure.
I'm going to rely on Keith and Maddie to kind of play, run, yeah, and not let it turn into just, why don't you do this? Why don't you do, I want it to be informative. I have no problem answering tough questions, but I think it would be nice to pull back the curtain on a lot of the obstacles we face, and not that I want to just, plead for sympathy all night during this thing, but. You all know what we're up against, but a lot of people don't.
Well, I think one thing Keith could mention is that we meet every month and it's on Channel 18. So
Right.
they could learn so much by just watching the golf committee meetings.
Tell a lot of rumors.
Yeah, exactly.
The things I hear are crazy.
Yeah, me too. The two things I wrote down right away when you talked about a meeting, Jesse, are gin,
Yep.
and probably from a different perspective. It's very important to maintain an accurate gin. And we experienced some cases this year where people hadn't put their scores in for the last 6 years. And, but they're going on an old gin. And we don't have gin cops here at Barnstable Golf. But I think golfers need to know how important it is to maintain a current and accurate gin. Much as I hate mine, I do it religiously. And the second thing I wrote down was pace of play, which is a huge issue on the weekends especially. And I have said over and over again, and nobody's going to like to hear this, but on courses this size, on the weekends, there's no way you would allow walkers. Not on Saturday and Sunday when it is jam-packed full of golfers. I actually had to prove this to someone that, most courses this size insist on carts, and not just on the weekends, but pretty much all the time. But I think when you have mixed groups, it really slows things down. If everybody's in a cart, you go to your ball and wait for the walkers to catch up. And I know you love walking, so don't get upset. But Monday through Friday, I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is at the height of the summer, when the courses are so slow, especially Old Barney, carts should be required, in my opinion. And I'm not the only person who feels that way.
I actually think your argument is not carts, it is speed of play enforcement.
Yeah, it's not a.
Because
cart,
I can
it's-
outplay a cart person by an hour.
You can, Jason. You're not.
No, but
you're not the typical golfer.
blame it, orient towards we not enforce an aggressive speed of play.
Yeah, but you
Because
can't.
Old Barnstable,
Yeah.
targeted speed of play is 215, 215, 430.
Yes, and
That golf course should be played in 350, but we don't enforce it.
you don't have a ranger at either
Well,
course.
I think that would be a big help. I don't think it's a
A
cart
ranger?
issue so much, but a ranger out there that would talk to some
It's a
groups
cost.
about picking up the pace of play.
The only thing I'll say in retort is that why would other big courses require carts at heavy, during times of heavy use?
I don't know of any clubs on Cape that, beauties at least, that have mandatory carts.
I've played at a
honest.
bunch of them that require you to have a cart.
None of the private ones do either.
But I don't.
I must have been hallucinating.
Pine Hills requires it.
Yeah, Pine
Yeah,
Hills
but you can't play
requires
that course any day of the week.
Yeah,
What?
that's a hard course
Pine
to
Hills.
walk.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, this is a hard
That's like a
course to
9-mile
walk.
walk if you walk Pine Hills.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Okay, well, forget the carts thing, but
No, the
pace of play is a huge issue
It
on
is.
the
I agree.
weekends.
And I think a ranger would help immensely.
It would.
Because you have groups out there that are just oblivious to people behind them, that are like in the woods looking for a ball, or just, gas bagging, and they're not paying attention to
It's,
the pace of play.
We have struggled mightily in recent years, as everyone has, to find staff. And to find somebody to show up at 6 a.m. for minimum wage on a Saturday or Sunday is not as easy as you think.
Keith could be the reigning ranger of the year.
Yeah.
So-
What if they got we've got their golf for free as well?
Never happened. Not-
Why? You don't think you find anybody, or?
No, the town.
Oh, the town would never allow that. Yeah.
Oh,
No, we can't
No.
barter or anything. No, we can't.
No.
Yeah.
you can't get a volunteer.
No. It would have to be, we went through this with
Oysters?
with Rahili and then the crew.
Gibber Hilly.
a volunteer technically
Oh,
is
that's right.
supposed to be working
Yeah.
under direct staff supervision, so if that's the
Yeah,
case, you don't
yeah.
need, the staff's already there, so you don't need it yet.
All through the year.
Hopefully, we're able to, we want that, and we're doing well enough revenue-wise to have that. Hopefully, this spring will be different, and we can find, last year, we had, for the entire year, from March through September, we had the jobs posted, and we had hardly anybody applying.
Yeah, okay.
But pace of play is a huge, that'll certainly be something we'll talk about. And Jim, you're right, I feel strong about that. People, I personally feel like not putting your score in or putting a wrong, manipulating a handicap is no different than kicking the ball out from behind a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cheating,
Yeah, it's cheating.
and it drives me insane.
Yeah.
So if creation of a committee is something we talk about, so be it. You
I think
know,
you should take the opportunity to talk about the league, the quota league,
yeah,
the men's league, the women's league.
in a promotion kind of standpoint.
Well, I mean, it would be a promotion, but it would also be just, you know, an informational, this is what it's all about, you know?
And to keep things on track, I would strongly recommend an agenda.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it'll be PowerPoint, and it'll be, you know.
Oh,
I'm
PowerPoint.
working-
You know
Yeah,
I love PowerPoint.
yeah, I'm working on it now.
She's your girl.
So I'm gonna, you know, I'm doing inside Barnstable town government. So
Oh, you're
I'm gonna-
doing that,
I'm gonna
right.
take that PowerPoint and then kind of amend it and fancy it and add some
Awesome.
stuff. And,
That's a nice
I'll try to
shortcut,
get a
Jesse.
twofer out of that.
All right.
But no, but yeah, this is the stuff we want to hear, because it's gonna come up in the meeting.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
From an historical point of view, we used to have this meeting before COVID,
We did, yes.
and we had it in this room. And to Bill's point, for some people, it was a complaint session. But for a lot of other people, some very interesting stuff was talked about. And I think what would be profitable, again, this is 4 months away, is for all of us to think about the agenda, help Jesse with the agenda in the sense that Suzanne, every one of us has just mentioned a bunch of things that would be profitable, and to also think about what each one of us might, if you want to, might want to talk about. This whole thing about being an enterprise account in this town still confuses people that I've played with for years.
Yep.
And I know they're kidding me, but also I think they're not. They refer to the slush fund that the
There's a slush fund, they say.
the golf program has. These are the kinds of things we want to address. And I think that this dialogue here about what topics should be on the agenda is excellent. And then, again, if you would like to, volunteer with Jesse. I know I'm going to speak on whatever topic is appropriate. It really doesn't bother me about any of these. I'd be glad to speak on them. But again, we want to keep it to an hour and 15 minutes at most.
Relatively
And-
civil.
Well, it's going to be civil, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, Jesse, I would like to suggest, and I know we had them a couple of times, to think about whether or not we can have hors d'oeuvres and light drinks. Obviously, soda and something like that, or just iced tea or something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if we give people free food, then
I'll tap into the marketing budget.
they
There you go.
are more amenable
Sure,
to
absolutely.
arriving at such a meeting.
No
And we do
problem.
want to have a good turnout.
Oh, we will.
We absolutely do, because
think
this is
we
a
will.
great opportunity to talk about the terrific golf program that we have in this town.
I mean, you're gonna hear about things that you already know.
Sure.
The interesting things will be what you don't know, what people are talking
Right,
about.
somebody standing up and saying, when are you gonna fix the bunkers?
Yeah, you already know that, you have an answer for that.
Right.
But there could be other things that are raised, other issues
Right.
raised that we haven't even
And
thought about that, you might address down the road sometime.
I think I think it could squash a lot of misconceptions and this and that. Like the slush, I hear all the time, my tax money.
Right.
You look at our budget, general fund support, meaning taxes, zero, not a penny.
You know, I have to tell you, one of the things that I have mentioned for years is the issue of the importance of golf in this town. The golf program absolutely mirrors the philosophy and the goals of the town and what it does for our citizens. And I would personally like to spend a few minutes telling everyone, because I think we need to promote this so that there is a greater understanding of the value that golf, besides just physical. There's so many guys that I know that this is a friendship thing, a camaraderie thing.
Health,
They come and
exercise.
they enjoy themselves physically, mentally, socially.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, that's what there should be more and more of.
I was going to ask Jesse if he could mention, you don't have to dwell on it, but the 2 fundraisers that come out of Barnstable Golf are an important
Right,
aspect of Kids
absolutely.
Point.
We can, well, Suzanne, you could talk about them because that's right in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
I don't want to talk for an hour. Nobody wants to listen to me.
No, you're
I have
not
no
going to
problem
talk for an
either.
hour,
What
Jesse.
about the
I'll
first
do
tee?
that.
Would you address the first
Yeah,
tee for it?
we could mention that
We could have Dave.
Yeah,
If he's
to
willing.
make people aware. There's only
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
first tee programs on Cape Cod.
You probably want to do that.
That's a great idea, Bill.
Yeah.
And he's a great speaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
Oh, we could invite him, right. All right. Why don't we move on to the Director of Golf Maintenance report?
Is it-
I don't have a whole lot. We already did the cart path update. The guys just started doing tree work. They started at Old Barnstable this week. Mechanics did some major repair work to the chipper, got it back up and going, and they're starting on the pond on 3 with all the overgrowth that has been addressed at least 10 years. And then they're going to move on to.
ball's going to roll into the water here?
Well, most of it was on the 7G side,
Yeah.
but it's going to make it. It already looks fantastic.
Have you lowered it? If you hit way left, you can go over from the pond, 17.
You could definitely do that now. Yeah. So that's coming out great. Then they're going to move on. Both courses have a significant amount of dead wood from a
Right.
safety aspect, and just cleaning up dead branches all the time that fall off. And also with some of the recent wind we've had, we've lost some trees at both courses.
Right.
So they have enough to keep them busy for a while, just doing tree work. We talked about it last meeting. We're still going to reshape the bunker on 11 here, so you can see the green from the tee.
Great.
That's an easy project with our backhoe. And speaking of backhoes and tractors, the Hyannis tractor has officially been ordered. We had to wait 30 days as a town cooling off period, but we got the PO opened. It's in the hands of the vendor, and I don't have an exact date on when we might get it. Could be a year, could be less, hopefully less. But that'll be great for this place. They have 3 terrible tractors, and they're going to get a tractor with pallet forks, a bucket, a backhoe attachment, and it'll be long overdue for Hyannis. Instead of shuffling one good tractor between 2 courses. And then we may still do a quick bunker edge on some of the bunkers that need it, particularly green sides at both courses, just to dress them up if the ground doesn't freeze. And then the only other thing, myself, I'm going to be kind of working on our environmental sustainable best practices plan. Bruce had started it, it's not complete. That's going to occupy a lot of my time this winter. And then also working on officially certifying both courses with the Audubon program.
Oh, excellent.
Which
That's
is,
excellent.
I've started kind of looking into it. There's a lot to do.
A lot of work, yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of it's going to be fun, like some of it, like I'd like to get up an osprey nest tower over by the pond at Old Barney. It's all,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
It's all kinds of, bird houses. There's a lot to it.
Really?
Yeah,
There's a fair number of hawks on
we do.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of red-tailed hawks.
I don't know, is there something to do for them, or they just?
That's why you don't see sparrows.
I don't see.
You don't see a lot of rabbits either.
You don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Between the coyotes and the hawks,
Yeah.
there are a lot of rabbits.
But no, we already have a great, a lot of wildlife already, but just to really amp it up and,
There are a lot of bluebirds suddenly at Old Barney. We saw so many bluebirds this summer.
right, yep. So putting up more bluebird houses, making more monarch butterfly habitat. They love milkweed, planting that out in the sand plant. We already have quite a bit of it already, but
Great.
that's
Are
all
they
part of it.
endangered, the monarch butterfly?
I think they might be, yeah. Yep.
You know, James, if we could get a periodical update on your progress.
Sure.
um,
I haven't made a lot yet.
No, no,
That
no.
project.
That's why I'm-
But now that that's kind of on the back
No,
burner.
I'm hesitating for a second because I don't mean this to, like, put you on a calendar or something like that, but periodic updates on what you're doing, because again, that is all part of making golf a wonderful part of this community. When we enrich the golf courses, we enrich the town.
The habitat thing's huge.
And
It's huge.
that all plays into our environmentally.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have to say.
Questions?
Can I ask Jesse?
James, what do we do when the ground freezes in terms of the cups on the greens?
As far as changing them,
Yes.
Leave them.
not much.
This is why I brought this up. I was told about some golf courses that at this time of year make 2 holes.
I've heard of that, yep.
So
Then you
if-
move the pin.
And we move the pin. So granted, there are 2 holes on the green, which might influence a putt every now and then. But the point is then we can move the pin and then the wear and tear is distributed evenly throughout the green.
It's a good idea. If we're gonna have a mild winter and, the greens are already beat up. The ball marks,
Yeah.
they're taking a
Right.
beating. So that's
But
something
if
we
we
could
could-
definitely.
If you could think about that.
If you accidentally get it in the other hole, you pull up.
It happens.
If you want to, Suzanne, because
Okay.
again,
Yeah.
you don't have to put your score in the winter, so it doesn't matter.
James, make it the big one, like
The big one. Yeah.
Can I ask a
And the
dumb?
guy, we're always looking at the weather. If we get a warm day, the guys go out, they do.
I know they switched them. I know that, I've noticed it. But if, again, once it gets really cold, obviously you can't.
You can.
And if we had 2, then all we're doing, and then we get even wear.
We could definitely, especially on maybe some of the greens that really get beat up at the park.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Definitely.
This is sort of related to the Audubon effort. On the financials, I always see green fees. Traditionally, isn't that greens fees? Here's why I'm worried, because I think we're going to really talk about the Audubon project.
Right.
And I don't want people to think that that's money somehow being derived or dedicated
Okay.
to the Audubon.
Sure.
And with our green initiative.
No, I was just gonna say, you're
Yeah.
gonna be seeing the term green initiative a lot,
Right.
so, sure, I'll get that changed, so it's.
Just a simple, silly change,
Yeah, yeah, no,
but just so there's no confusion, that it's not about the green initiative.
It's a good point, Susan. Good point. All right, any questions of James? Director of Golf report?
Happy to announce that Tavern on the Green has officially been awarded the concession in Old Barney. Just like the last lease, this is a 3-year term followed by 3 one-year options, town options. Bill Hensley and his staff seem very appreciative of the opportunity to continue doing business with us. And I'm sure along with the rest of you, I have no doubt they'll continue doing an excellent job.
That's excellent. Great news.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
finally didn't take long. It was obviously unanimous.
Yeah, okay, great. Nice job.
Applications for the 2023 season they were scheduled to be mailed out yesterday. I wasn't told otherwise, so I believe they were. Just like last year, we went through a third party. Every household should receive an application, a brief letter, and once again, we did the club schedule on the fridge magnet. People seemed to like that last year, and it wasn't very expensive. So hopefully everybody should receive those in the next few days, and we'll start getting hammered with passes, which is what we want. We're once again running the early sign-up contest. So anyone buying their pass between now and the end of February is entered into a raffle There's 3 prizes, the first and the big one obviously being basically a full refund on your 2023 pass, and then a yearly range pass, and then a $100 gift card. This has always been an effective way to generate some cash flow in the otherwise slow months of January and February, because otherwise there's really no incentive for somebody to join before April 1st. But not only that, but it helps to avoid long lines at the counter once the season gets going. We always brace ourselves operationally on a Saturday in May when every other person in line is saying, oh, and I need to redo my membership.
Yeah.
Well, there's 5 people in line behind you and your tea time's in 3 minutes. You know? Yeah.
Love those people.
So, oh, I have to fill that out again? Yes. How do we know if you moved? How do we, you know? Revenue-wise, December was another strong month. Granted, it was a small one. We were budgeted to do 30,000 and we did closer to 50. Bringing our total positive variance against forecast at right around 160,000 through the first half of the fiscal year. Granted, the second half is a much heavier month because of all the memberships money that comes in, and May and June are huge months. But January is also a relatively light month in terms of revenue. We're only forecasted about 65,000. As of today, we've already done half of that through the first 10 days. I don't expect much movement over the next few weeks. Once we get into February is when the numbers get a lot bigger and scarier. Obviously the membership drive is a huge part of that, but I have no reason to doubt we'll hit our numbers. All we can do is wait and see, and just like I've said a million times before, revenue looks very good, and we're trying to temper expenses as best we can. And that's really it. I think hopefully our next 2 meetings will be, I hope, heavily spring meeting driven. I'd really like to get you involved in that as much as I can.
Jesse, I got a very quick question.
Yeah.
On the, I guess it's Hyannis. The year-to-date actual has a negative figure for tournaments.
I saw that.
Tournaments is a weird thing. So the tournament line item, anytime you pay an entry fee, it goes into the tournament account. And then that account, the money from that account goes in a million different directions. If you win money as a member, it goes in your credit book. If you win money as a non-member, it goes in onto a gift card. If we did any food for the event, it gets credited to the respective food and beverage vendor towards their rent. So the money sits in there and gets put into directions. In a perfect world, at the end of the day, it would be a 0. What that probably is, I'm guessing, Susan could tell me more than... What that is, I'm guessing, is accounts receivable stuff for groups that were here. And the dust hasn't settled yet. I don't know if I'm explaining this well.
You got a positive 7,800 at Barney, but a negative 9,900 here.
Yeah, it's a revenue number. It's not an asset. It's not a receipt.
So the total, what's the actual variance? About 2,000?
Yeah.
Let me look into it. That's what it is. It's money that came in as entry fees for events, and then was paid out towards either credit book, gift card, restaurant rent to pay for food, merchandise if we bought merchandise from ourselves, so to speak, and then use it as a prize. You know, if we took entry fees and we use that to buy a golf bag that was in the shop, and then use the bag as a prize.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be below 0.
No, it should be a net 0 at the end of
Yeah.
Now the tournaments are done. So let me look at that.
Okay.
Right,
mean,
because you got one course, it's in the positive and the other one's in the negative. So
Yeah, they should. I mean,
that should be.
that gets muddy because money that's won at one course gets spent at another.
Oh, because of the.
Yeah,
the
so that
credit
gets a
course?
little muddy, but as long as it's a combined net 0 at the end of the year.
I see.
But I'll look into it. It should be 0. I mean, 2,000. It's a really small variance, honestly, compared to. I mean, the Quota League alone does 100 grand. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just stands
Yeah.
out because it's a negative
Right.
revenue
It's a-
figure.
Right. Yeah, it should
Anomaly.
be. That number should it builds up throughout the year a lot because of quota, because of the dues.
Right.
We take the $10 due, and then at the that money just gets held until quota Palooza, and that's thousands of dollars that. But I'll have an answer. I'll have an answer for you. I'll email you an answer in the next couple of days.
credit books, payments that are not picked up by the end of the year, the calendar
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
those come back to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who has an order pending is all
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
If you've placed an order, on December 10th,
Right.
but it's not going to be delivered till February, you're fine.
Yeah,
But somebody who just straight up ignores it and lets it lapse,
okay.
yeah, yes, it comes back to us. It comes off. It's no longer a liability, basically.
So there was, so it was mentioned in one of the emails, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
When I was in. They
Absolutely.
mentioned it again, oh, well, it's all over now. It's
Yeah.
all done. Do you know what the end result was?
Probably about the same as last year. It's going to be around $3,000.
$3,000 back to you?
Yeah.
Wow.
$3,000 in yeah.
Yeah, people didn't claim it, that's
At
crazy.
the height of the season, that number gets up to around 50 as far as outstanding money that we owe to base merchandise that we owe to people, basically.
Yeah.
And last year was right around $3,000, and this year, I looked today, the actual number is around 6, but I think there's about $3,000 worth of special orders pending.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of those might not even come in until April. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, and then the rest of it will show up. It'll show up on the sales report under Pro Shop sales
Ah.
as just unredeemed shop credit.
Got it.
As
It's got its own
technically
line.
the product SKU would be unredeemed shop credit,
All right.
and it'll go into our Pro Shop sales.
All right.
Jesse, if you could just remember to put that on your report for the meeting in March, the answer to Bill's question.
Oh, sure.
Just so that the public can hear the answer.
Right,
And
instead of just-
everything is clear to everyone, because that's a question I just want to make sure the public knows the answer.
I'll have to huddle up with Susan
Sure.
and see what happens.
All right, any other questions, comments for Jesse?
Great job, fellas.
We tried.
Yeah. I think you're doing a great job, both of you.
Anything else? All right, just as a reminder to the public, and also just a gentle reminder to the members, that there is no meeting in February, which is something that has happened every year for the past, I don't know how many years. It's not seen to be necessary. So our next meeting will be the second Tuesday in March. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Adjourned.